And I'll share my screen so we can look over the agenda. All right. Thanks for joining, everybody. We can start by looking over the action items from last time. So first one was for me to ask Jitao about hosting the dev sync. I did ask him about this, and he said he's open to it. He needs to check with his manager, and he said that most of the folks that work on Mesos are down in the Palo Alto office. So for them, it would probably make sense to host it down there, which I'm fine with. I would make a trip down there for it. And, folks who aren't able to make the trip down could just join via Zoom or a Hangout or whatever. But yeah, it sounds like they're definitely open to it. And maybe we could also have one at Twitter. I think maybe we're still waiting to hear back from folks at Twitter.
We actually got a hold of David, and he said yes, and so it's scheduled for I believe it's the 10th.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so the next one will be at Twitter, and maybe the one after that will be at Uber.
Cool, that's great.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if there's anything else that I need to do other than to promote it, other than put it on the dev list and on the calendar invite.
Yeah, I think sending out an email on the dev list is maybe the only thing. Okay. That's great. Thanks for setting that up, Judith. It'll be good to have him.
It was actually Vinod helped a lot on that. So
thanks, Vinod. Cool. So the next item was Andy, check-in about review board and Jira automation. Oh yeah, Andy, I saw that you pinged Vinod and I never got a chance to take a look at that link that you posted. I need to do that. What did you find?
It looks like existing infrastructure, an existing script by the Apache infrastructure guys for integrating some of this stuff. Primarily, this script lets you reference an issue in a commit, and when the commit goes into your ASF Git repo, it closes the associated issue. So there is some existing integration here and a script we could borrow or improve upon. But yeah, I just found something neat.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll take a look at that today. Would you mind tossing a link to what you found here in the agenda so we have a record of it?
Yeah, let me do that.
Thank you. And looks like Gilbert isn't on the call today. I don't think he got a chance to do this. I'm gonna copy that to today's action items. And Judith asking about Mesos swag. Were you able to do that?
No, I have not done that yet, but I did talk a little bit to the marketing team about the budget, and it sounds like they're pretty strapped, so I wouldn't expect that to be successful.
Okay, so should I just not copy it?
Yeah, I think we can cross it off the list.
Okay, sounds good. Next one was for me to email Yelp and Twitter about blog posts. So I didn't email Twitter because I think we were waiting to hear back from folks over there. Vinod kind of suggested we could just wait until we heard back about the dev sync. But since we have heard back from them about that, maybe I'll reach out about a blog post. I can do that this week. I did contact Sunil at Yelp, though. They're actually planning on doing a blog post in the near future because they're doing some benchmarking right now. So they're planning to do a blog post whenever that benchmarking work is done. They have some more data to collect. And he said they'll reach out to us and collaborate on the writing of that blog post. So both Yelp and Uber are planning on doing a blog post in the near future. I think Jitao at Uber is a little too busy at the moment to make that happen, but he's planning on it. So I think we just need to stay in touch with those folks and make sure that it's in the front of their minds. I think over the next month or two, they'll probably be ready to put something out. And then the last item was send an intro email. Who was Robert A. again? To be honest, I totally forgot. Sorry.
Yeah, he's at Huff and Milton Harcourt.
Oh, right.
I forgot to do this.
Okay, no worries. I'll copy it over. Cool.
Actually, I didn't forget to do it.
Oh.
I think I copied you on the check-in thread that I sent to him about it.
Oh, okay.
I think it's just maybe on hold.
Okay.
Or
I'll take a look at my email. Sorry that I missed that.
you know what? That might have been with Indeed.
Okay, yeah, because there was another thread going on. I wasn't sure. I thought it was the existing thread.
Yeah, so there are two users that I met. One is Indeed.com, and they were interested in writing a blog, and it's in progress. And Robert from Huff and Milton Harcourt, it's possible that I didn't email him about a blog, but he's been submitting a bunch of talks to places about his Mesos use. So I might I'll email you about it, or I'll text you about it.
Okay, I'll just leave that on the list so we remember to check in about it. Okay, cool. So that's all the action items. Judith, looks like you have a Dockathon update today.
Yes. So we will be in our new space for the Dockathon, but it's okay for us to have it there, so that's good. And I've started a topic list that I kind of just naively put together from topics that it didn't look like anyone had ever worked on the other, that were proposed for other Dockathons. So I would love some help filling that out, or filling out details with it, or correcting it if I put in anything in there that's not a good topic. And then the other thing that I was hoping to recruit you guys for was to reach out to other users and recruit them to come join the Dockathon and participate. Because we had talked about that in the last meeting, I think.
Yeah, we should definitely reach out directly. I'll add an action item for myself I could ping like Jitao at Uber, Sunil at Yelp.
And maybe it can be on the list of things you talk to Dave about at Twitter.
Yeah. Cool.
Those are the usual suspects. Is there anybody else that we should be considering?
Apple, maybe. Yeah, you never know. Anybody else? Anybody else think of anybody we should ask about the Dockathon?
I can ask the users that I'm in touch with. I mean, that would be Indeed and HMH and whoever else.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. So the topics. One thing I'm curious, hey, Ben M., I remember you and Vinod were trying to revive the version documentation chain that somebody was working on. Is there any progress on that?
I think he's been busy. He hasn't had time to get back to us. I'm hoping someone could kind of pick it up at a Dockathon or something and help finish it. But we had some feedback. We talked to him. We had like a hangout with him. Or I don't remember if he was able to join the hangout, but we shared some feedback with him, and he said he was going to update it. But I think he's just been busy with other stuff.
maybe we could reach out to him and let him know about the Dockathon and see if he's able to attend.
Yeah. I think he'd have to attend remotely, but yeah, he's on the East Coast, I think.
Okay, cool. Would you mind reaching out to him about that?
I can do that.
Awesome, thank you. Cool. Let's see. Oh yeah, left-hand nav menu, that would be great. The roadmap, yeah. Move a roadmap to docs. So I guess that's just putting it in the repo instead of the wiki that we're using now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Executor, oh, that's a good one, yeah. Overview of all available offer operations. Yep, also a good one. The process by example.
Yeah, I think some of those there were like a lot of different examples that they listed, and some of them were crossed off as done and some of them weren't. So it's like that project is like half done.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of examples still left.
Okay, cool. And do you know if was there anything in particular on this item, the updating HTTP API docs? Oh, I can't hear you, I think.
Okay. There were some notes in the Dockathon. Let's see here. Update HTTP API docs. It looks like Colton signed up for converting existing operator HTTP API examples to curl commands, but then there was add offer operations to the API docs, alter example formatting to avoid displaying wrong examples, expand introduction sections. Scheduler executor API docs should introduce the basic scheduler executor workflow. So that was under there.
Is that all from the previous Dockathon?
This one's from the October 12th one, yeah. So that was 2 Dockathons ago.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Does anybody have any other ideas on the top of their head right now for Dockathon tasks? I think this is a pretty good start. Several of these would be really nice to have. The left-hand nav menu would be great. I think executor types, that would be a good doc. It would be nice, like something like the left-hand nav menu. I feel like that's something that might just take a little longer than the Dockathon slot, but if somebody did a little research ahead of time, they might be able to bang it out during that period of time. I wonder if it's worth trying to do a little groundwork ahead of the actual Dockathon. So if people have items they want to kind of get prepared a little bit so that we're ready to make some more progress on the actual day of. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think that's okay. I mean, even if we add version documentation to this and Tim does have time to show up and help, I mean, who cares whether he did a lot of stuff beforehand? And I mean, all I care about is that happens. So if we put things in here that require homework and people ideally realize that is the case, and then they do a little bit of stuff up front and show up and can finish it, that's still a great outcome, right? I guess you're just wondering, like, hopefully people will realize that they might want to spend some time before the Dockathon.
Yeah, I think my implicit proposal was that we could send an email out or something, just to like I could send an email to the dev and user list saying, hey, we're having another Dockathon. here are a few items that we want to call out that we would love to have people work on. If you're interested, get in touch, and we can like try to
Yeah.
do a little groundwork ahead of the actual day.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And actually, yeah, and if they have other suggestions for topics that aren't on this list, that might be great for them to add too. Greg, if you want, I can draft up that email and we can just like review it together, and then you could send it out.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Is this something that you want to, like, what I'm also curious about is just if we were to poll users and see what they think are like areas of weakness,
Yeah.
areas where they've recently kind of wanted more documentation, that would be at least useful for me as well.
Yeah. I think that's a really good idea. I wonder, maybe we should do a thread like that before we send one out about the items that we have to work on. Yeah, we could start a thread just kind of like trying to get feedback and input from people on their desires for the docs.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, cool. So let's work on an email like that first, Judith, and then we can do the other. I like that idea. Cool. Okay, so if anybody thinks of anything to add to this doc, there is a link here in the agenda from today, so you can find it there. Oh, and the Mesosphere docs team will attend. That's great.
Yeah, I talked to Poppy about it because he pinged me and he was like, "Oh, we're going to start a DCOS documentation working group. Is this the same thing as you scheduled something?" And I was like, "No, it's not the same thing, but if you want to join and help out with the Mesos docs, that would be awesome." And he was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do that." So he seems excited. He's going to encourage his team to help. And one of the places where I think the DCOS documentation could be improved greatly is to link more often to the Mesos documentation, which is
cool.
a lot of the time more in depth. So I think that this will help him a lot get more familiar with the Mesos docs. And then we can start pointing people to them instead of explaining everything twice for the DCOS project.
Okay, great.
So they'll be there to help.
Awesome. Okay, anything else about the Docathon that we should discuss before we move on?
I'm good.
Okay. Thanks for organizing that, Judith. That's great. So next item on the agenda, I added this mostly to remind myself and force myself to do it. James Peach had suggested that we reach out to ldbn.net. They have a section in each issue where newsletters, where is it? Yeah, here, announcements. So in these newsletters, they have a kind of a variety of different types of content, from full-fledged blog posts to, in some cases, just links to mailing list archives. So he suggested that I reach out to them and ask if they would be willing to include our monthly Mesos updates here. And we could just provide them with a link to our mailing list archive for now as an easy way to do it. And I thought that seemed like a good idea. So I was planning to do that. I'll add an action item for myself to do that.
That sounds cool. Do you know what the readership is like for those at all?
I have no idea. Does anybody else?
What I know at least is that at least for some stuff on there, you need to be a paid subscriber. And a lot of companies will have at least one account. so that people can get access to these publications or these articles. And in my past experience, it was always like the kernel team that has a couple subscriptions or something, or they'll like make the subscriptions expensible, just that people can keep up to date with what's going on in the kernel. I'm not too familiar with the other side of this, like the non-kernel stuff. And I'm also not sure why I can read a lot of stuff on there without a subscription. Maybe it takes a while and then it becomes unlocked or something. I don't know.
I think that's how they do it. After a
Okay.
week, it's opened up for public consumption.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you go to the archives page, you can look at all the previous ones that are open. But the weekly edition is locked down.
I see. The current one is locked.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
a really interesting subscription model.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surprised that many people. Well, they probably don't need too much money, I guess, to keep going, but I would be okay with waiting a week.
Yeah, me too, personally. Okay, and the next item is from Andy. Oh yeah, we chatted about that. I think I added that just as notes here. So that's everything we had from the agenda. Does anybody else have any other items they wanted to bring up?
I wanted to do just a cute, like a short little check-in about how you guys think things are going with the community. Like, do you have vibes that like people are happy, people are grumpy? Like, how's stuff?
I guess I've been collaborating with Jitao a bit lately. He's certainly been very active. I feel like Uber's been fairly active recently. I feel like all the big users recently have been pretty active, which is nice. Like folks at Yelp, it was nice to get some benchmarking feedback from them, and on the developer side, I think, yeah, a lot of work has been coming out of Apple and Uber lately. So I think my exposure has pretty much been to the larger users, like the handful of larger users. And things seem pretty good there with active development and people participating in kind of public discussions and such. And then I'm not really sure about the wider community of like small to medium sized users. My general impression is that the number of small and medium sized users has declined quite a bit in the last couple of years. But beyond that general impression, I don't have any real data or hard numbers on that. What are other folks' impressions and thoughts?
It's a good question. I think the only time that we've kind of gotten a pulse on the wider community has been at Mesos cons, where we see people's talks and we talk to them directly and listen to them. Outside of that, I don't really hear much from users. They tend to just be pretty quiet and either consume like Marathon or there's a couple users that consume Aurora. And yeah, I don't know. They just tend to be a bit quiet, I guess. Maybe that's a good thing in some ways, because I guess things are mostly working and so on. But I don't know. They just use the software, I guess, and are not super active in participating. I mean, now that there's Slack, I see a lot more people in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I would maybe agree with Craig that it seems like there may have been a decline. I don't know. I'm curious if we looked at like mailing list subscriptions over time and so on, like what that would look like. I think I looked at it recently when I was filing the board report for Ben because he was away. And it's pretty much a flat line, but with kind of like a very slight decline. So for example, user at mesos.apache.org. In October 2017, it had around 985 members. And then it kind of like very slowly went down. Now it's at 953. So that's 30 fewer people in just maybe like half a year, I guess that is.
Do you have a sense for whether we lost 30 people or if we lost 30 people and gained, or lost 45 people and gained 15 people, or like how much?
That's hard to say from these numbers. It's just kind of like,
The total.
it definitely goes down and goes up a little bit. It's a little bit variable, but overall the trend was down. So I'm assuming it is a little bit of what you said, but we don't actually get I'm sure I could see that, but I can't see it from this particular graph.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm just trying to get a sense for, if we were, I mean, I guess it's awesome to focus on the things that we're focusing on, but I want to make sure that there's nothing else.
I'd be pretty curious to look at the actual raw data if it's accessible and see like, which companies that people were unsubscribing from or subscribing with, like just so I could see if like it looks like a particular company stopped using it or whatever. But I don't know. Our user list, like I think another thing is people never really ask to get removed from our powered by Mesos list. So we don't really know if all of these particular users listed here are still using it.
When we send out the Mesos survey every year, do we send it out to those users also?
I have no idea. Not sure.
When was the last time we sent a survey out? Do you guys know?
I think we did it last year. Question mark.
Yeah, but we're a big project and a lot of people use us. It's just, I think we're kind of like, if you look at something like Linux, I mean, how often do you participate in the user list or anything like that? It's basically never, right? Unless you're actually like a big company finding bugs or whatever.
And to a certain extent, like if we're just supposed to work, if things are just supposed to work, then if they're working and you're happy, then maybe you don't say anything.
Yeah.
Or if you're unhappy, maybe you also don't say anything.
All right, I actually have to go, but thanks for the meeting, guys, and thanks for organizing the Dockathon.
Thanks, Ben. Talk to you later. Andy, Gaston, do you guys have any thoughts on community stuff to Judith's question?
I crunched some stats a few months ago about the breakdown of commits by company or how many contributors per company there are, and it's mostly stable. So from like Mesos 1.1 to 1.5 RC1, the numbers stayed stable and maybe even declined a bit. I posted them to Gist a while ago. I can get the link if you're interested in that. It's mostly about developers, not about users. But I just look at the Git history and crunch some numbers.
If you have them, that would be awesome to see. Could you put a link in the doc?
Sure, yeah, I will do that.
Yeah, maybe next meeting we could take a look at those together and chat about them.
Sure, yeah, I have a script that I wrote. I can run it again and get updated numbers.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a ton of customer interactions, but I could say I've had a few recent ones, and one was pretty positive, one was fairly negative, actually. So the positive one was there's a group in Azure that has a customer that wanted to migrate some service that they were using on Azure on top of Mesos to make it fit into the rest of their existing Mesos frameworks. And that was like awesome. They're doing this. They agree to it. And I know they're working on it because the dev ran into a bug and pinged me, and we fixed it and moved forward. And I haven't otherwise heard from them. So to kind of echo Ben Mahler, as long as it's working, they're just writing a framework. They don't really talk to me too much. So that was good and positive. But there was also a thread recently, actually in the Mesos Slack, some company was evaluating using Mesos on Azure. And this isn't Mesos's fault. This is more they have an existing Mesos and Marathon infrastructure and wanted to look at using the DCOS marketplace offering on Azure, which is actually Mesosphere's offering. And they went, why is this so old? Where is the information on this? Why has it not been updated in a year? And why does it look like Microsoft says that they're deprecating it? And I'm like, I don't actually have good answers for you. I'm sorry. Ben Mahler did get back to them and said there was going to be a marketplace update, and that looks like it happened within about a week or two of them looking at it. So I guess the DCOS offering got updated, but then there's still, this is where it's not Mesos or Mesosphere's problem, but on the Microsoft side of things, there's a weird disconnect in some of the stuff they're saying. Like, it looks like if you are external to it, that they're saying ACS is getting deprecated for AKS, and Microsoft is all in on Kubernetes. And I'm like, well, I can tell you that's not true because I have a team here, as you guys know, working on Mesos, like a lot of people using it. But yeah, so I think both our companies need to work on external facing, like what the customer sees as happening versus what's actually happening. It was really disappointing to not really be able to tell them that, well, no, they're wrong when they're saying ACS is getting deprecated. They don't quite mean that. They're talking about something different, but I know what it looks like to you. Yeah, so those are my customer interactions, which are kind of community based.
That's good to hear. I mean, not good to hear, but good to know about. Andy, if you want to talk a little bit more about the marketplace offering and where DCOS is and all of that, it might be interesting to just have an offline conversation about it.
That would be interesting because I don't know a ton on there. I'm mostly on the make it work on Windows side, just in Mesos, but just I hear the other stuff around DCOS. Yeah, we should set that up.
The long and short of it is that the like updating process is different between our different Microsoft like platform offerings, and some of the update processes are extremely cumbersome and weird. But yeah, we can talk more about it if you'd like to know more about it, or you might be able to tell me about it.
Yeah, all right, we'll meet up and talk because yeah, I'm certainly interested, and I don't know a ton about it. I just hear it from customers and from some of the other devs on my team that works a little bit more on DCOS. But that'd be good. Cool. Thanks, Judith.
Sweet. I didn't have anything else unless anybody else has anything to add.
I think that's everything for me. Gaston, Andy, you guys have anything you want to chat about?
Not really, no.
Not in particular. I think we're all in crunch time. I know my team is like working toward an end of March bunch of stuff for our big customer over here, and I know we also have the 1.6 release coming. So I think everybody's just sort of crunching.
Yep. That is my sense as well. Sweet. Well, in that case, we can all get back to crunching. Get an extra 20 minutes back. But I appreciate everybody showing up. Nice community meeting. We got a bunch of action items, so I'll do my best to knock down the ones that I've got. And I'll see you guys at the next meeting.
Thank you guys.
Sounds good.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.